Hello and welcome to Oweleketv News. I am Confidence Oko. Thank you for joining us. And now the news headlines. Peter Obi present witness and evidences in court against Tinubu's victory. Keyamo accuses media outlets of mischievously twisting Tinubu's inaugural speech. Return government houses and lands benefited from previous administration, the new governor of Sokoto state warns. And in sports, former Manchester United and Portugal winger Nani has left Melbourne victory. Welcome back, and now the news in details. Parents and community leaders have been urged by the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Abuse Agency to end the culture of silence so that the legal system can deal with those who commit domestic and sexual abuse. Children should learn to call their private parts by their original names and never hesitate or delay speaking up when they experience any type of abuse from any trusted adult, the agency further advised. The organization, which advocated against sexual and gender-based violence in various areas in Lagos, stressed the need to educate kids and other stakeholders about issues that may be related to SGBV. Titilola Vival Adeniyi, the SVA's executive secretary, stated in addition to all the celebrations the organization was taking part in, it was practical to bring the Children's Day celebration to the various areas. She claims that as a result, several communities in the state took the initiative to celebrate, support, and educate the children. Francis Muifuru, the new governor of Ebonyi State, issued an order on Tuesday to immediately freeze all state government accounts held at several banks. Dr. Monday Uzo was also named by the governor who took office on Monday as his chief press secretary. Uzo had served as CPS, the immediate past deputy governor of the state, Dr. Kelechi Igwe. Uzo delivered the governor's decisions in a statement on Tuesday. Moving on, the Director General of the Budget Office of the Federation is being sued by the National Industrial Court in Abuja for the alleged wrongful termination of Mrs. Bilkisu Sanusi, a senior employee of the ministry and a civil servant. The Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, the Head of Service and the Accountant General of the Federation are additional defendants in the lawsuit who on Tuesday began presenting their defenses in relation to alleged corrupt practices. The claimant is asking the court to issue an order forcing the defendants to pay all of her salaries, entitlement, fringe benefits, bonuses, and other perks incidental to her role as a staff member of the Budget Office of the Federation, totaling 550 million naira in damages and 550 million naira in compensatory damages. Justice Oyebiola Oyewumi, the presiding judge, had instructed the defendants to begin their defense in February 2023. The case was initially held up until April 4th and then again extended until Tuesday, May 30th, when the defendants began their defense, presented their evidence, and closed it. In a lawsuit, Mrs. Sanusi accused the defendant of abusing their position of authority to illegally and unjustifiably withhold her wages and benefits for speaking out against alleged corruption in the Federation's Budget Office. The legal director in the Budget Office, Mrs. M.D. Agada, who was representing the second and third defendants, and one Aliyu Abdul Qadir, who was representing the Attorney General of the Federation, had been cross-examined. Mrs. Sanusi had closed her case in the NICN/ABJ/96/92 lawsuit in February, and the trial judge had adjourned the case so that defendants could begin their defense. She added that the second defendant also, without any justification, caused her open and secret files housed at the Budget Office of the Federation Registry to be removed and kept in an undisclosed location to frustrate her from proceeding with her retirement. She further claimed that the issue resulted in the removal of her name from payment vouchers while efforts were made to frustrate her. The federal government owes the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, a deficit of 2.8 trillion naira in subsidy payments, according to Oweleketv, Group Chief Executive Officer of the company. After meeting with President Bola Tinubu, Kyari made the statement to the State House reporters at the presidential villa in Abuja. He said that he was quite pleased that President Tinubu had mentioned the end of the subsidy regime in his inaugural speech because subsidies are no longer viable. Farouk Ahmed, Authority Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Mainstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, joined Kyari at the briefing. Farouk Ahmed lamented that the NNPCL is unable to raise money to its core businesses due to the high subsidy burden. He noted that it was understandable why gas lines started to form again around the nation on Monday because marketers wanted to know what the president meant when he said that subsidy is gone. He claimed that people rushed to buy the product as a consequence of the uncertainty around the statement, which contributed to the queues witnessed at petrol stations. He also promised that the government would take action to mitigate the effect of the loss of the subsidy. We'll now be going on a short break. Please stay with us. Welcome back from the break. Well-known hotel owner Dr. Ramon Adedoyin was found guilty of murdering Timothy Adegoke, a former master's student at the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, by an Osun State High Court on Monday. In November 2021, Adegoke's body was discovered at Adedoyin's Hilton Honors Hotel in Ile-Ife, where he had slept. In a ruling on Tuesday, Justice Adekbele Ojo, the Chief Judge of Osun State, found Adedoyin and 2 hotel employees guilty of murder. The ruling, which took the judge more than 2 hours to complete, the judge determined that the circumstantial evidence pointed to Adegoke's murder when he was a guest at Adedoyin's hotel. The judge rejected Adedoyin's explanation for why he wasn't present when the late Adegoke checked into the hotel. Adedoyin's decision to forego testifying in court to prove his innocence, according to Justice Ojo, was fatal to his case because the onus of proof has now moved on to him. In the end, the court ruled that the prosecution had established the allegations of conspiracy and unlawful killing brought against Adedoyin and 2 of the other 6 defendants. Adeni Aderogba and Oyetunde Kazim are the 2 convicted hotel employees. The judge sentenced them to death by hanging together with Adedoyin. The hotel premises, which was used by the defendants for the commission of the crimes for which the defendants have been tried and convicted, was forfeited to the state. The children of the late Timothy was placed under education up to the university level at the cost of the 1st, 3rd, and 6th defendants. And now moving on to other stories. The federal government's no work, no pay policy was upheld by the National Industrial Court in Abuja in the lawsuit brought against the Academic Staff Union of Universities. In a ruling given by the court's president, Justice Benedict Kanyib, the court determined that the federal government has the power to withhold wages from employees who engaged in industrial action. The federal government's no work, no pay policy against ASU members who went on strike last year was upheld as valid by the court. The federal government's attempt to impose an integrated payroll and personnel information system platform on ASU members who serve the right to choose how their wages should be paid, according to the court, violates the autonomy of the university. The union's demand for payment of their salary from February 14th to 7th of October 2022, when the strike was called off, saw the federal government dragging ASU before the NIC. ASU insisted on receiving salary for each month they were on strike, but the federal government, led by the previous Muhammadu Buhari administration, objected and insisted on applying its no work, no pay policy to the lecturers. Ahmed Sokoto, the governor of Sokoto State, has warned everybody in the state who profited from government land or housing during the previous administration to return them or face legal repercussions. The governor made the statement at dinner hosted to welcome him and his deputy, Idris Kabir, following their Monday inauguration. According to him, the Aluyu Sokoto they know during campaign is now different from the governor. He said anyone who refuses to return such property in their possession will have to face the full weight of the law. And still on the subsidy story, Bola Ahmed Tinubu did not eliminate the full subsidy, according to Festus Keyamo, the chief spokesperson for the All Progressives Congress presidential campaign. He claims that despite President Tinubu having stated that subsidy was gone during his inaugural speech on May 29th, some media outlets are mischievously twisting the narrative to read that Tinubu's government has removed subsidy. Keyamo, a former Minister of State for Labour, stated that Tinubu's administration merely took over from a system in which neither the Petroleum Industry Act, which is currently in effect, nor the 2023 Appropriations Act, which begins in June 2023, contained any provisions for subsidies. You'd recall that Tinubu in his inaugural speech had said subsidy is gone, and moments after queues could be seen at different fueling stations as fuel prices skyrocketed. And now over to the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal story. At the Presidential Election Petition Court in Abuja, where they are challenging the declaration of President Bola Tinubu as the winner of the February 25th presidential election, the Labour Party and its presidential candidate Peter Obi presented their case on Tuesday. The opposition party called its first witness and presented evidence, which included a court ruling from a previous forfeiture case involving Tinubu from the US. Jibrin Okutekpa, the attorney representing Peter Obi and the Labour Party, claimed that documents 1 through 4, as well as the receipts offered, were proof that Kashim Shettima, the vice president, accepted his candidacy as the APC's vice presidential candidate. Lawrence Oweleketv, a lawyer who testified, admitted that he was deposed on March 20th for the witness statement. Oweleketv's deposition contained documents that included information about the claimed $460,000 forfeiture by Tinubu to the U.S. authorities. The LP and Obi are asking the court to overturn Tinubu's victory on a number of grounds, including the fact that Tinubu at the time of the election was not qualified to contest for election to the office of president, as he was fined the sum of $460,000 for offense involving dishonesty, namely narcotics trafficking, imposed by the United States District Court, Northern District of Illinois, Eastern Division in case number 93C4483. During the court's examination, the witness acknowledged that the judgment was not registered in Nigeria while responding to queries. He also acknowledged that the verdict was not supported by a certificate from a U.S. consulate in America or Nigeria. On the other hand, he insisted that the judgment speaks for himself. Nevertheless, the APC's legal representative, Lateef Fagbemi, questioned him, saying, as a lawyer, are you not aware that these documents are not registered in Nigeria and that there is no certificate attached to the document from the U.S.? Lawrence responded by saying there are certificates. Additionally, he claimed to be unaware of a legal attaché formal clearance report from the American Embassy dated February 4, 2003, about the purported indictment and forfeiture. The witness refused to provide Fagbemi with a copy of the charges brought against Tinubu, claiming instead that the forfeiture was the result of civil processes. On Tuesday, the panel heard a petition from the People's Democratic Party and its presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar that also contested Tinubu's election. The PDP submitted copies of election result sheets, printouts of the bimodal voter accreditation system, and records of the number of permanent voter cards that were collected for the February 25th presidential election before the PEPC through its attorney Eyitayo Jegede, SAN. The panel acknowledged the records, which covered all 36 of the Federation states as well as Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. The 5-member court panel, presided over by Justice Haruna Samani, moved the next hearing on the case to today, which is Wednesday at 2 p.m., following the admission of the papers. Up next is international news after the break. Welcome back from the break. If he wins the 2024 election, Donald Trump promised in a campaign video aired on Tuesday to abolish birthright citizenship on day one. In a lengthy dog whistle-filled screed in which he worried about criminals and people with mental health issues invading the country, the former president claimed the Constitution's guarantee of U.S. citizenship for anyone born on U.S. soil, regardless of their parents' immigration status, not working. Despite the fact that the real procedure necessary to draft an amendment is quite onerous, per the White House, and far more difficult, Trump, the current front-runner in the GOP, promised to annul the section of the 14th Amendment with a straightforward executive order. And now over to sports news. After only 10 league matches, former Manchester United and Portugal winger Nani has left Melbourne victory, the Australian team said on Wednesday. The 36-year-old signing last year was heralded as one of the A-League's biggest coup in years, but he failed to live up to the expectations, failing to score before suffering a major knee injury that kept him out for the remainder of the season. Nani won the Premier League 4 times United and received 112 caps for Portugal. Melbourne Victory placed 11th out of 12 teams in the A-League standings. And just before we go, we'll be joining Hadiza Galadima for entertainment tidbits.
Thank you, Confidence, and welcome to Entertainment Tidbits. Nigeria's sensational Afrobeat megastar Rema proportionally closes on legendary South African musician Late Hugh Masekela's record for highest charting African song with the remix version of his hit song Calm Down featuring American singer Selena Gomez, hit a new peak at number 4 on the US Billboard Hot 100 chart. With this feat, the Afrobeat singer made history as the only African artist with the 2 highest charting songs on the Billboard 100, surpassing Wizkid's Essence record, which peaked at number 9 in 2022. Over to the movie scene where Disney's live animation movie, the remake of the 1989 animated classic, The Little Mermaid, sweeps to the top of the US box office, raking in $117 million on opening weekend and becoming the 5th best opening in the history, which stars Halle Bailey. And in the Nigerian music industry, where an incredible artist with a blend of hip-hop and highlife, Odomodu Black, just hours after releasing his new single, Dog Eat Dog Remix, has debuted at the top of the Apple Music Nigeria Alternative chart. We're bringing so much expected excitement and complexities to the Nigerian hip-hop scene. The remix, which features Creole Santino and sensational street pop Bella Shmurda, is the number 1 music on Apple Music Alternative charts. That's it on Entertainment Tidbits. I am Hadiza Galadima. Back to you, Confidence.
Thank you so much, Hadiza. And that's it for the news on Oweleketv today. But before we go, here's a recap of the headlines. Peter Obi presents witnesses and evidences in court against Tinubu's victory. Keyamo accuses media outlets of mischievously twisting Tinubu's inaugural speech. Return government houses and lands benefited from previous administration, the new governor of Sokoto State warns. And in sports, former Manchester United and Portugal winger Nani has left Melbourne Victory. Please do follow us on all our social media handles on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at Oweleketv. And you can also visit our website at oweleket.tv to catch up with all our news stories. Till I come your way next time with more interesting news, I am Confidence Soko. Thank you for watching.